Continue on with the Mandalorian, we now come to episode 3, The Sin. Now, while I did really enjoy this episode, my biggest complaint with it is that it took way too long to get to what the episode was supposed to be focused on, and that being Mando breaking the child out of Imperial hands. So what happens? After obtaining the child, Mando gives it to the contractor, and he receives as a reward, which is a big crate of beskar, and he uses this to create some new armour. However, knowing that what the Empire is like, Mando starts to wonder what they're going to do with the child. However, it's against Guild Code rules to ask questions after the bounty has been completed. This doesn't stop Mando though, when he attempts to break the child out, and all of the bounty hunters in the town are alerted to this, and the price has been put on Mando's head. After being cornered, Mando then suddenly gets rescued by all the Mandalorians that have been hiding under the city. So as I said at the start of this episode, it takes way too long to get to the crux of what the episode is supposed to be. And there are a lot of things that happen that needed to be there, and such as establishing the guild code and the Mandalorians talking about their character in their chamber about the Empire, as well as learning more about Mando's backstory and that his planet was attacked by the CIS. There are a lot of things in this episode that could have been cut out. For example, we still get a lot of scenes of Mando just walking around, and the part of the guild code about not asking questions after the bounty being completed. This was mentioned by an Imperial contractor, but then 5 minutes later was mentioned by the guild's contractor. We don't really need the Imperial contractor to say this. I would have preferred if the guild contractor said it and then Mando starts questioning what he should do. However, there are a number of things in this episode that I really did enjoy, and it's mostly the parts in the Mandalorian chamber. We learned that the Empire had so much to do with the reason why the Mandalorians had to go into hiding. Now, I personally think it's because of what happened on Mandalore during Rebels. However, this was a significant time afterwards, and I would like to know a bit more about why they have such resentment for the Empire, and which is why I didn't like the fact that Mando was using beskar for his armour. It doesn't really make that much sense, you know, because Mando doesn't really mind it, and it might be something to do with the fact that Mando isn't strictly Mandalorian by blood, but just by nature. I don't know. I hope maybe they'll explain that a bit later. I don't know. The whole sequence of Mando breaking out the child was really cool as well, and it shows that Mando is not just a man behind some armour, but is actually human and cares about this child. And you can tell that without even seeing his face, which is really nice to see. I also like to see Mando using all of his abilities to his effect depending on the situation he is in, and trying to break the child out. However, I would have preferred if Mando went into the building completely silently and only used his knife and his fists to break in, and then used his other abilities to break out once the stormtroopers know he is there. I would also like to know what the Empire was going to do with the child in the first place. As all we found out in the episode, with the help of that Imperial scientist, the child would have died without his intervention. I would have liked to know a bit more about his significance and what they wanted with a Force-sensitive child, especially one of Yoda's species. Some of the small things I liked is that we can see bounty hunting does not have any loyalty to anyone. You can be friends with somebody in the canteen, but if you have a bounty on your head, you're a dead man walking, and it shows that they're only out for themselves. I also love seeing the Mandalorians come and rescue Mando, just because it's a cool action sequence, and as always I love that action. And after I mentioned that they needed to relocate their base to keep themselves hidden, I hope we end up seeing where they end up. So overall, I did enjoy this episode despite it taking a while to get off of its feet. However, we shall see in the next episode how far Mando will go to protect the child.